Welcome to Happy Homes and Gardens. I'm your host. My name is Daphne Royse. I am the real estate broker, architecture, and interior designer. The use of surface materials seems to have changed over the years, from Omega to tiles to natural stones, and now stone startup processing in sustainable manner. Evolv Surfaces curates innovative services materials at home, retail, and commercial spaces. Bill Gable, account manager of Evolv Surfaces, is here with me today to tell us more about natural stones and other innovative services materials. Hi, Bill.
Hi, how are you today?
Doing well. How about you?
Excellent. Thanks for having me on your interview today.
Please tell us about you and what you do.
Sure. My name is Bill Gamble, and I'm with Evolv Surfaces in Berkeley, California. And as you introduced us, we're curators of revolutionary and unique surface products. I've been in the industry for almost 25 years. I started out on the fabrication side, which means I was more of a swinging a hammer, wearing a tool belt person in the industry, on the job sites, building homes, and seeing and learning about these materials from some of the leading architects of our time and designers in the Bay Area, which was a really great experience. I got exposure to a lot of beautiful design and learned from a really young age, what architects and designers were looking for in materials. Mostly natural stone in the beginning, but as things have progressed, we've started to see an evolution of more responsible composite materials. And so that's what leads me to where I am today with Evolv Surfaces. And what we specialize in is sourcing versatile and environmentally friendly materials in the Western United States for distribution. We have an incredible showroom located in Berkeley where we display natural stone, Neolith, which is a sintered stone from Spain, and Duresco, which is a bioquartz from Belgium.
What type of surface materials do you have in your showroom? Are those the three types that you just mentioned?
Yeah, so we carry a variety of surfaces in our showroom. The bulk of our showroom is primarily for natural stone. So we have marble, granite, limestone, onyx, travertine, slate, shale. The list goes on in a variety of different finishes on display here, several hundred different colors, hand curated from the quarries based on their beauty as well as their structural integrity. We have Duresco quartz, which is a quartz product. I don't know if you're familiar with those. And we also have Neolith, which is our flagship material, which is a sintered stone from Spain. And sintered stones are pretty new on the market. So again, I don't know if you or your viewers are real familiar with those, but we can get into what those are if you like.
Yes, please tell us more about those sintered stones.
So sintered stones are a really unique type of material. They've been on the market for a little over 10 years. And like I said, Neolith is the brand that we represent, and they're made in Spain. And it's a wonderful company. They're actually a carbon neutral manufacturing facility, and they make a product that is natural stone engineered. And so what they do is they take raw elements of granite and glass and other minerals, and through a process called sintering, fuse those minerals together. So they take these minerals and they grind them to very fine powders. And they have things like quartz and feldspar, which are granite-like minerals, and silica, which is a glass-like mineral, and some clays for color, and some iron oxides and other oxides for color. And through a process of heat and compression, fuse all of those minerals in a dry state into a new solid surface. The compaction is really intense. It's like 15,000 PSI. And then after it's compacted, it's kilned. And so just as the earth metamorphosizes stone, we're replicating that process in a matter of hours. And so through immense heat and pressure, we're able to take these minerals and merge them into a new structure that's stone-like. And the cool thing about it is there's no chemicals involved in the process. We don't have dyes, we don't have glues, we don't have resins. It literally is all natural materials going into our products. So we have a very clean, healthy, hygienic, product that is really difficult to damage. It's one of the most durable surfaces on the market today. And I like to use the word surfaces because we get mixed up in our industry and kind of pigeonhole things into categories. We call it, it's a tile, it's a slab for countertops. And the Neolith is unique in that it is truly a 360-degree surface that you can use on the floors, you can use on the walls, you can use inside and outside. Because of the immense amount of pressure that goes into it, there's very little porosity, almost so that you could say it's almost a zero porosity material. So bacteria and things don't get into it, so you can use it for food preparation. Because it is so dense, it's stain resistant, it's graffiti resistant. So there's a neat video a couple of years ago on a TV show called This Is SF, where we spray painted a wall up with it and cleaned it off. As you can see, I'm really excited about it. It's a really cool material.
I heard you mention Spain and Belgium earlier. So where are most of your natural stone in your showroom from?
It's interesting. Stone comes from all over the world. We're in California right now. So, we have stone from the Sierra Nevadas. Locally, Fresno, California would be the closest place stone comes from. And it's just a simple speckled black and white stone, but all over the United States. Colorado is a pretty common place now that we're starting to see beautiful white marble. Most people think, though, of Italy and Brazil as the two global hubs for stone. When you're out shopping for stone, everybody's like, I'm looking for beautiful Italian marble. Carrara or Calicut are two names that kind of come to the tip of my tongue. But we also have a lot of Brazilian quartzites, and quartzites are a really neat material, and not to be confused with quartz. Quartzite is actual geological classification like marble or granite, and it's a very dense metamorphic stone that's acid resistant. So like granite, it's going to repel the water spotting, the etching, and issues like that, unlike the marble, which is softer. However, it's a little more beautiful. And so, we have all kinds of natural stone from literally all over the world. But I'd say Italy and Brazil are probably the two most common places. And then we have a lot of interesting other materials. We have the Neolith, which is made in Spain, as I said, and our house line of quartz from Belgium called Duresco.
Can you tell us the pros and cons of the natural stone like marble, granite, maybe quartzite, compared with the Neolith and Duresco?
Yeah, sure. So, granite is probably what everybody thinks of when they think of the most indestructible type of material to use. And right, I think we're just going to we'll narrow it towards countertops because that's kind of an even playing field to be able to compare everything on. And so granite is really beautiful in the aspect that it is, nice, solid colors, but it's also kind of plain. And so a lot of people, while they like granite because it really is, it's acid resistant, which means it doesn't etch or water spot. It's really hard, so it's scratch resistant. It's not marble. And everybody these days seems to really want that beautiful white marble kitchen. And one of the problems with white marble is that it is marble. It's a softer mineral. And the things like the calcium and the lime in it can be attacked by things such as your water. And one of the most common things that we see with marble is it's called water spotting or acid etching. And that's when water or like a lemon or tomato actually reacts with the surface of the stone and kind of burnishes it or leaves a dull spot. Also, one of the reasons why with marbles we'll go with a honed or a matte finish as opposed to a polished finish. Marble, again, very veined, very beautiful, very desirable, but is probably one of the softer materials we work with. So it requires sealing, it requires maintenance, and it requires love of the material. Marble, while it's beautiful, it's expensive and it requires maintenance, and it's going to what we call in the industry patina. So as you use it, it's going to show signs of wear, kind of like a butcher block or stainless steel. The first time you use it, it's going to get a little scratch in it. It's going to get a little discolored, but over time that patina develops and it looks nice and worn and lived in. And that's not for everybody. So we have a lot of other materials as well. Quartzites are relatively new on the market, but like I said before, they're kind of a neat compromise in that they are sedimentary formation of stone that's metamorphosized. So what that means is they're like big sand dunes, and you get these layers of minerals, and because it's a silica-based mineral, it's acid resistant. So when that formation hardens into that new solid block of stone, you get those acid resistant characteristics that you see in granite, and why the granite is such a good material, but you get the beauty of marble. So it's kind of a compromise. It's kind of in between marble and granite as far as its wearability. Most quartzites are also very hard and dense, so they're scratch resistant. So they make a good kitchen material. And you can use those in a polished finish because typically they won't etch or water spot. And then we get into engineered materials. We have quartz materials, which quartzes have been around for a long time. There's lots of brands in the market. I'm sure people are familiar with Silestone and Caesarstone are two major name brands. Duresco is the brand that we carry. It's from Belgium, and it's a little more unique in that it's made with a bioresin. And unlike other quartz on the market, which are made with a polyester-based resin, what the Duresco has is it's a little more environmentally friendly binder that's made out of cod oil. Quartz countertops are primarily quartz, which is the mineral in granite that makes granite so durable and strong. And it's about 93% quartz in all the major quartz lines. The difference is just the glue that holds it all together. And then again, my favorite material, neolith. Neolith, like we were talking before, is a sintered stone, and it's made from stone. Actually, the name is Greek, neo, new, lith, stone, new stone. It's kind of, the name says it all. And the neat thing about the neolith is just, we just have the versatility and the beauty of how it's printed so that it looks like stone, but it performs with all the best characteristics of the best products, the granite and the quartzite and just all those unique things.
On the price-wise, are they similar to each other?
Price-wise, materials are really all over the place. The white marbles tend to be the most expensive, but, with white marble on the low side with Carrara, you could be talking $25 a square foot, up to a lot of the stuff that we see in the Bay Area market that's $200 and $250 a square foot, which sounds pretty pricey, but we sell quite a bit of it. So it's just relative. The quartzites typically fall between $40 and $60 a square foot. And then the engineered materials like the Duresco and the Neolith are somewhere between about $15 and $35 a square foot. So the economics of them are really good. They get you a very beautiful material at a very good price point, and they last.
So you mentioned pretty much all about kitchen countertop interior use. What would be the best materials to use for outdoor surfaces?
Outdoor surfaces are a little bit tricky. One of the odd things about natural stone is that I think you and your listeners probably are going to assume that I'm going to say natural stone is going to be the best thing, like granite outside. And that's not always the case these days. A lot of the stones that we import at the coring process have been impregnated with resins to help create a visual appearance that is very smooth and mirror-like. And those resins and things don't always hold up outside. Some of them aren't UV stable. So my answer to the best material to put outside is neolith. And the reason is there's no chemicals in it. There's no plastics. There's no binders. It's basically, we've taken all the good stuff in granite and some other things, and we've fused it together and compressed it into this new material. But because there are no dyes or anything in the process, it's UV stable. And so the color will last for years upon years upon years. We actually use it to put on the sides of buildings. We use it for exterior flooring. So it's a great outdoor material for countertops. There are some things about it that you need to know when you're working with it, like putting seams in certain places for expansion and contraction. And, you want to deal with it like an exterior masonry material. So you want to make sure that you have seams in certain places. But overall, neolith is my top performing outdoor material, my go-to.
How about any fire-safe materials?
Again, neolith.
Okay.
Granite, obviously, granite doesn't burn, but granite is heavy and it's a non-renewable resource. So, we're starting to see a lot of exterior building facades and urban wildlife interface areas. In this area, Santa Rosa, we experienced a firestorm. I live up there. And so, we had almost 8,000 of our neighbors lose their homes several years ago. And it's a reoccurring thing in the Western United States. And so rebuilding fire safe is on the tip of all of our tongues in the industry. And Neolith fits the bill for that. There's nothing combustible in it, so it can't catch on fire. We actually, again, if you YouTube it, there's a video of us. We have a big campfire and we're roasting marshmallows on it. It's non-combustible. It actually passed all the NFPA 285 testing for flame spread. So it's engineered and certified in an environment like that. So if you're doing a house in an urban interface and you need a non-combustible structure for like Martis Camp or Santa Rosa or Sonoma or down on the peninsula or even out in Colorado, it's a good material if you're not going to use granite or stucco or something else. But it's also, the neat thing about it is we offer it in a lot of different thicknesses, so we consume less natural resources. And so it's an environmentally more responsible material to use as a fireproof material for a building facade as well.
A question for you about the Neolith. Would that be a good idea to use around fireplace or fire pit? Fireplace, when you use over time, you will get a dark marks. Would this material prevent that?
Well, I think you're talking about like the soot and the ash from the fires. And so again, it's non-porous. So yeah, with a little bit of cleaning, that gray soot would come right off. It shouldn't be a problem.
Good to know. The natural stones come with the patterns. So what are some popular matches?
Again, we get into the Calicut marbles. I think that's the benchmark that everybody talks about these days. And there's two ways with natural stone. When you cut a block, you're slicing it like bread. I'm trying to describe this, without visuals. And so you have two ways that you can display it. You can polish like all the faces on the right-hand side or all the faces, every other face. And so what happens when you open that face up, it's a butterfly. And that's called a book match in our industry. So there's two ways to present the stone. You can book match it, which creates that butterfly so that you can match two panels together to create a beautiful presentation. Or you can try to match the veins up so they all go the same way. So they say they all go left to right, and that's called a slip match. And in natural stone, that's kind of the goal or the ideal, is to get the most beautiful book match or slip match. And lots of fabricators use really fancy software to do that. Slabsmith, I think, is a program some fabricators use. So if your clients are working with a fabricator, they might want to ask, do you do Slabsmith layouts? And so that's when they take pictures of all the slabs and they embed them into this program. And instead of, back in the old days, we used to tape it all with masking tape and like make little dioramas out of it like we did in school. We can do this digitally in an AutoCAD type presentation. So you have a full scale replica showing what that butterfly or that slip match is going to look like. Now, when we get into the composite materials, the quartz market never really was able to generate solid imagery because the process of how it was made. But with Neolith, with sintered stones, they were able to recreate book matched and slip matched because it's a digital imaging process that creates the layers of minerals on the surface, so they can replicate that pattern 99.9% every single time and create the quote perfect book match. And because they've actually engineered the patterns, you can actually create a good slip match as well. In some of their literature, you can actually see some really great dioramas where they show repeating book matches and how to create that repeating slip match so that you don't have to have that, feeling of it not being stone when you do the design with it. You just work with it just like stone to create that one-of-a-kind kitchen. And that's the neat thing about these products is the Neolith like natural stone. You can create something that even like, say, if your neighbor and you bought from the exact same block, a very unique artistic interpretation and rendering so that your kitchen is unique both to what your style is as well as the design and pattern of how you want it created.
Do Neolith and Duresco have a variety of color and finish to choose from?
So Duresco is a quartz, and it is offered in a polished and what we call a velvet finish. And a velvet finish is like a matte finish with a little bit of texture to it. The Duresco is more of an architectural palette. So think solid colors and concrete earth tone-like colors. It's a very simple palette. They have a couple terrazzo looking colors and a couple veined ones, but really the focus of their line, in my opinion, and how I present it to architects is that it's really an architectural palette with solid colors to create a beautiful room. My biggest fear of walking into a project is that somebody calls out my product and goes, "Oh my God, this is the most incredible kitchen because of the countertops." Not, I walked into the kitchen and this is the most incredible kitchen. I can't tell you why. It's just the space overwhelms me because it's beautiful. Now, there's some exceptions to that. When you do like the island in the center that looks like a piece of furniture with an opposing piece of stone, and then the intention is to have a showstopper or like a big chandelier or hood or something it's intentional. So with like getting back to the Duresco, we have about 40 colors and 2 finishes. With the Neolith, we have about 60 colors, and we're launching 5 or 6 new colors as we speak, which is pretty cool. And we have a variety of finishes. We have the standard finish, which is our silk finish. It's like a matte or smooth finish. We have an ultra soft finish, which is a lightly glazed finish that has a very pearlescence touch to it. It feels just like marble. We have a polished finish, which is a glazed finish. The polished finish, however, doesn't have all the same working characteristics as the traditional Neolith does. Because it is a layering of silica, it will be a little more prone to scratching and abrasion wear, but it still will withstand wear very well, and it'll hold up a lot better than real stone. And then we have some specialty finishes too. We have some wood grain colors that actually look like natural wood, and they have a mechanically embedded texture that feels like a worn and abraded wood. We have a finish called River Wash that is, in natural stone, we call it a flamed and brushed finish, where you actually rub your hand across it and it has a lot of tooth and bite to it. It's a really neat finish for like a rock face wall around a fireplace, or if you need some texture on the floor in your shower, a no slip kind of finish. It works really well like around pools for a no slip finish. So you have that traction around an exterior pool deck as well.
What are the available sheet and tile dimensions for those materials?
Yeah, so the Duresco is about a 10-foot by 5-foot sheet, and it's 3/4 of an inch thick, and that's a pretty standard size for a quartz. The natural stone comes in all various sizes. You just have to come down to the showroom and pick your slab out, and it's a rock. It comes out of the ground. We don't have a lot of control. The Neolith is actually really a little complicated in that we offer a bunch of different sizes. The largest format size I start with is the 126 by 63 sheet, which is a very large sheet size. But we offer it in a variety of thicknesses. We offer it in 1/8 of an inch thick, 1/4 of an inch thick, 1/2 inch thick, and 3/4 inch thick. And the reason we offer it in these different thicknesses is because you don't need as much materials to make this product. And so the goal is to use less resources so that our environmental impact is less. Typically, we use the 12 millimeter or the 1/2 inch for countertops. So again, we're using 1/4 of an inch less thickness of material every time we produce a sheet for a countertop. And that gives us our minimum impact resistance that we need for a countertop surface. Floors and walls, typically we use the 1/4 inch thickness. That's the 6 millimeter. And again, that's literally half the thickness of your average tile. So we're using less natural resources in making the product, less natural resources in shipping around the world. It's reducing I think the buzzword these days is our embodied carbon, which is something that's a little new to me that I'm kind of boning up on. But it's really neat if you think about it, right? Everybody thinks about what are the impacts of these materials that we, in their lifespan of using them, how often do they need to be sealed? What do they need? How do you care for them? What are the impacts of those as far as the chemicals you're using around you and your house? But, not how did it get to my house? And so because we can make these materials thinner with less natural resources, the amount of energy it takes and the carbon footprint it takes to get these from the ground to your countertop is significantly less. And it's a recyclable resource as well. The Neolith, for example, is cradle to cradle recyclable, and the recycled content is really high. I think the average recycled content is in the high 40s. Our newest colors have up to 90% recycled content in them. So very green, very environmentally responsible product, but very beautiful as well.
How should we care for natural stones? How about Neolith and Duresco?
So let's start with natural stone because it's kind of the most complex. Typically, in natural stone, you're going to use an impregnating sealer on, which is basically a silicone that's been embodied in some kind of solvent, whether it be some sort of tetraethylethylene toxic chemical type product, or some of the newer products on the market, which are water-based sealers. You're going to take this, and it's like a sunscreen, basically. It goes on, and it's a protective measure. It's not an impenetrable barrier, though. And so you're still going to have the potential or the risk of the stone being damaged. And in the case of marble, the sealers don't stop the water spotting or etching. And what they do is they slow down the water and the oils from impregnating into them and make them so that they're easier to clean off, but they're not impenetrable barriers. There are some barrier devices for natural stone, for marble. There's an anti-etch product out on the market. There's a couple of companies that make them. I won't get into name brands today, but they're expensive and they do require maintenance. And I think that's the big thing around natural stone is that there's a lot of maintenance involved in it. It requires, special cleaners. It requires special sealers. The quartz is a wash and wear kind of material, be it Duresco or any of the other brands. You shouldn't put sealer on it actually, because sealers in most cases with most brands will void the warranty and will actually destroy the plastics in the product. So, wipe with a sponge, dry with a towel. Still, specialty cleaner is somewhat suggested with those. And then with sintered stones like Neolith, it's a wash and wear. It's a non-porous type material. So there's no way to penetrate it. So you don't need to put a sealer on it, which means you don't have the life cycle of toxic chemicals in your home by constantly needing to apply sealers. You can literally just wipe it with a sponge, dry it with a towel. If you need a little heavier cleaner, you can use a little heavier cleaner. But typically, under normal circumstances, it's like a pair of blue jeans, just wash and wear.
Yeah, you mentioned about sealer for the natural stone. How often people have to do that?
That's an evolving subject. We used to say once a year, every 2 years. Some of the new manufacturers of sealers on the market are claiming a 10-year lifespan with their products. We haven't had them out for 10 years, so I can't tell you if that's legitimate or not. I have granite in my kitchen from years and years ago, and I haven't resealed it, and it seems to be fine. So most people typically will seal their kitchen when they get it, and kind of never worry about it again. And the sealers will tell you when they're ready. It's kind of like when your car, you wax your car, and when it's freshly waxed, the water beads up really cleanly on it. Sealers will do the exact same thing. And when they start to wear out, the water it will kind of embed into the stone and you'll get dark spots that'll dry out. So the stone will actually tell you subconsciously when it needs to be resealed. But the old adage was every year to 2 years. But again, that's changing.
I went through your website and I found a photo of a Chase Center that looks like a steel panel. What was the material that you used for the exterior of the Chase Center?
So the Chase Center was a great project we completed about 2 years ago, and that was actually the Neolith Iron Series. And it was a custom color that we did for them in the 1/4-inch thickness. If you can imagine, when you walk up to the Chase Center going to a Warriors game and you see that beautiful stadium and you look at that and it looks like there's these huge iron panels on the outside of it. And you just think like, oh my goodness, that must weigh a ton. And it actually doesn't. We were able to save significant amount of weight on the structure, which helped with the engineering of the overall building by using this 1/4-inch thick Neolith that only weighs 3 pounds a square foot. And as an added benefit, we actually did a photocatalytic titanium dioxide coating, which is self-cleaning, which aids in the maintenance of the building because, again, you don't have to use a lot of chemicals and pressure washers in a commercial exterior environment with all the soot from the diesel trucks going by. Literally, the rain washes off the dirt because the photocatalytic reaction, every time the sun hits it, it kind of vaporizes all the diesel particulate and dust in the air. So it self-cleans. But that was a custom color in the Iron Series that we developed specifically for that project. And that's one of the neat things about Neolith. For large projects like that, we'll custom do a color. So if it's over 20,000 square feet and you want Post-it note yellow, for example, we can make a building that's Post-it note yellow. And we can put a plaid pattern on it and smiley faces and, whatever else the job demands.
That being said, I can come to you for any design I want to do. You'll be able to make for me.
Within reason, yeah. And there's a 20,000 square foot minimum. But yeah, we could definitely come up with something creative and fun for your next high-rise project.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bill, so much for all the informative information for our listeners.
Yeah, I really appreciate joining you today. Thank you.